Hello and welcome to episode 173 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark, and today is a huge episode for me. It's the first guest on Mark and Me that is from WWE. That's right, I'm joined by a wrestler, but not only any wrestler, the current WWE Champion. Today's guest is the one and only Big E. This is a great interview and for me also a massive celebration because it's my first face-to-face interview that I've done since we went into lockdown. As you know, I absolutely adore doing face-to-face interviews. It's kind of something I took for granted each and every week before we had COVID, and then when it was taken from me and we've had a year and a half of lockdown and relied on stuff like Zoom, it's been real tough. I've made sure the interviews kept on coming and I've loved absolutely every minute of it. Nothing beats the authenticity of a face-to-face interview. The interview for me feels a lot more intimate and I couldn't ask for a better guest than Big E to celebrate this. So that interview is going to come up in just a couple of moments time. But I also like to use the intro to celebrate and talk about my last episode. I was joined by Katie Jackson from the amazing band Tigress. We got to talk all about their brand new album, touring and so much more. I want to say a massive thank you for all the tweets, Facebook comments, DMs and emails that I've received this week telling me just how much you've enjoyed Tigress. I knew you would. They're an incredible British band and they're going to go higher and bigger and I can't wait to see the journey that they're on. But let's get back to today's interview. It's a massive episode for me. WWE star Big E. It's a great interview and I think the best thing to do is to get straight to it. So here's me and Big E talking all things wrestling. Big E, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Last time I saw you, we were in New York at SummerSlam about 4 years ago. You stopped and I met you in the hotel. You won't remember this face, but I saw you. You were with the boys and you took a good photo. So thank you for your time then.
Of course.
What I want to start is kind of taking it back right to the beginning. So when you were growing up, I want to know when you were a kid, were you that obsessed wrestling fan or was it later on in life that you started to fall in love with it?
No, it was definitely as a kid. I grew up watching pretty much from the youngest. I don't remember a time where I wasn't watching wrestling when I was a kid. So my dad absolutely loved it. He is an immigrant from Jamaica and we would just... there was something I feel about wrestling that just captured his imagination. So I watched with my dad, and we grew up watching a lot of WCW. So I loved WCW as a kid, and especially Goldberg. Goldberg was my favorite wrestler. I actually got to meet him at a signing, I think in the late 90s at some point. And it was incredible. It was one of those moments that I still remember and still think of fondly. And honestly, it's been a bit of a lesson for me as well, as far as just... You know, he probably took about 30 seconds or so. That interaction wasn't, that long, but the 30 seconds that I spent at this, signing with Goldberg, where he smiled, he was polite, he was engaging, was something that I always remember. So I always do my best, especially with kids, to take that time, even when it's brief, even when you're like tired or jet lagged, because he was awesome, and I'll always thank him for that. So yeah, I was definitely a big wrestling fan as a kid, and then I think it was about the age of, I think I became like a teenager it was around the time that WCW was bought by WWE. So yeah, I think around like 14, 15 is when I thought like, I'm too mature for this, and then just kind of fell out. But yeah, definitely grew up being a big wrestling fan.
And when was the point when you remember in your head when you thought it could become a reality? So you're seeing Goldberg, you're seeing these incredible people that everyone wants to inspire. I wanted to be Bret Hart when I was a kid. I was there with the pink glasses. But at what point did it become a reality where you thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to make a name for myself?
As much as I loved wrestling as a kid, I never fathomed that I would be doing this as a job. In fact, if you asked me at the age of 22 to list 200 jobs, I wouldn't put pro wrestler as a potential one. It just didn't. It's bizarre. It just didn't seem possible for me. But yeah, it was. So my story is odd in the sense that I was a football player at Iowa, and I had a bunch of injuries, tore both my ACLs, broke my right patella, tore my left pec, all in 2.5 years. And so I was just on campus finishing up getting my degree, was done with football, but I just happened to bump into a guy who knew Jim Ross, who was with the company at the time, and I got my opportunity from there. So there was really never this moment where I thought, all right, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. It was just someone said, hey, is this something that you might want to consider? And I thought, you know what, let's give it a shot. And there's just so much about it that feels like kismet, because FCW was where, once you got signed by WWE at the time, you went down to FCW to train. And FCW was in Tampa. Of all the cities that it could be, located in the U.S., it happened to be where I lived. I was born and raised in Tampa. At the time, I was still in Iowa. But I thought, man, even if I'm awful at this and they do sign me, I can live with my parents, save up my money, go back to school, and move on about my life. I was 23 and still felt like I had enough. I didn't have kids or a wife or anything like that. So I felt like I had enough flexibility to, all right, let me take this job on a whim, and I can always go back to school. So it was never me saying, yes, I want to be a pro wrestler and I'm going to make this decision to find out how to get to WWE. It just kind of, I stumbled into it, and 12 years later, I'm still doing it.
So when those doors opened and you knew someone who knew someone and you started to see that it was becoming reality, it wasn't this thought, it was suddenly like, okay, this might actually happen. Can you remember those feelings of nerves of going into the gym and starting to think differently than being a footballer? You're thinking this is a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and so for me, I just tried to do my best to pour myself into it. I felt like I had so much to learn. One of the biggest things for me was just really learning how to be an entertainer.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, I'm an introvert. I like my alone time. I like just being on my own. I never was into theater or drama or anything like that. So I had to learn. For me, it was always, I was an athlete, and it was about you kind of keep your head down, you do the work, and you play, you perform, you practice, you do your thing. But this job demands that you know how to engage people, that you're charismatic. So that was my biggest thing, is just try. And I would just throw stuff at the wall. We had promo days every single week. Getting to work with Dusty Rhodes is incredible. But we're in this warehouse in Tampa, and Dusty is running our creative, and every Wednesday we're cutting practice promos in front of Dusty. So that was a great learning opportunity for me. But that was the biggest thing, is just learning how to entertain people, how to engage people, and just kind of cultivating a personality that felt right for me and that connected with people. But it took me years really to get to that point.
And as an introvert or someone that likes your own space, likes your own time, likes to be away, being in the limelight so much, how do you get that kind of mindset to change? Because the confidence there has to be real, because it's transparent if it's not. If you're walking around faking it, people see it. The fans know that. So how do you actually train yourself to think differently and kind of, I'm going to come out of this, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to try and change the way I think. I don't want to be nervous. I don't want to be scared. I want people to see that I'm loving what I do.
Right. So for me, it was, I think just, especially in my younger years, I think I too often would limit myself. And I'm a person who just I was often riddled with like self-doubt and just not really valuing myself that much. And I was just in my head just too often. And I just kind of thought, I think at some point I got to this realization that for me to ever make it or do anything important or anything with my life that is out of the ordinary, I need to step out of my own way. So I think I just eventually learned to kind of shut off that part of my brain and just leap. And for me, it's just been all about like making these leaps of just like shutting off the self-doubt and just do it. Just do the thing, just turn off your brain. So that's what I kind of learned to do. And then over time, I have really found a deep love for performing. I love being able to look out, being at a show and being able to look out and see that a kid is laughing or someone is smiling or they're cheering or booing because of something that I did.
Yeah.
And that ability to entertain people, to engage them for a few minutes, to take away, whatever the stresses of the day or whatever it is, I found so much value in performing and entertaining. And I feel like I'm on the path that I'm meant to be. Whether it's God or the universe, whatever it is, I feel like when I wake up on a daily basis, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And that's brought me so much personal fulfillment and like value in my life. And I'm extremely grateful for that. But it took time just to find that comfortability with being a performer.
But being on the other side as an audience member and a fan of the wrestling, seeing you're always happy, you're always looking like you're having the best time. The stuff you got to do in New Day literally didn't look like you were working. You were there to have fun. And it must be incredible to come up with these ideas and just basically go out there and just have fun. Some of the stuff you got up to is crazy, isn't it? It's insane to look back at.
It's absurd. And I love that period of us just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. I think the trombone started because we were in New York, and I think there was a suggestion that we would do like a Frank Sinatra song. And I think Woods mentioned like, oh, I grew up playing the trombone, and it's just like a bunch of things that we were like, all right, this. So we often preface our ideas with, this is too much, but, and then we end up talking through them, and we're like, you know what? It is real weird. It's outside the box, but I think there's a way. So I just really love that initial period of just trying different things and making them work. And you're spot on. When I'm with Kofi and Woods, it doesn't feel like work. We have so much fun together, and we always thought, even if the gimmick sucks, if it's bad, but people can see that there is a very genuine chemistry, that there is, that we're having so much fun, and that was the goal.
Yeah.
Is, I think anytime you see a group of people having fun and it's real and that joy feels authentic, I think there's something about you as a spectator that makes you want to at least, peer in or wonder what it is they're laughing about, or there's something I think that often draws you to that kind of energy. And that was our hope too, is I think people, especially fans, when you watch long enough too, is you can see through inauthenticity. You can tell when it's not real. And we knew from very early on that we had a very real chemistry, and we thought, all right, even if the gimmick sucks, I think people will see how tightly bonded we are. I think people will see that we are indeed having fun together, that we love being together. And that was always our goal, is having that chemistry come across on TV. Because I honestly, and I still feel this way, but we always felt like we had a very rare bond. I don't think you see anything like that in wrestling. And by nature, it's often a selfish business. You kind of have to be a bit selfish to be away from your family as much as we are, to make it. You have to be a little selfish. But they have been the greatest partners I could ever ask for. We've really just developed what we feel like it's a family feel, and I'm beyond grateful for those two.
And tonight we're lucky enough to see you in Birmingham. The UK has welcomed you back. How does it feel? Because it's been a couple of years. It's gone insane. The world has gone absolutely mad. No one could ever predict that it would have been like this during COVID. But finally you're back. It looks like you guys have been kept away, and now you're unleashed to the whole of the UK again. And every picture I've seen online so far, it looks like all you guys are so grateful to be back here with the best fans in the world.
Yeah, no, and you're right. The UK fans are just incredible. I think their enthusiasm, just the chants, the UK crowds always feel different than anywhere else we go. And this is, to me, I often think of when I'm at Hall of Fame or doing these events where we have to dress up. I often think there's something about it that just kind of is a little, it's like, this feels a little odd, because to me, the essence of what we do is like this is the essence of pro wrestling, is making these towns, doing these tours, doing these live events where you have the freedom to play, to interact, to engage people. Like that is pro wrestling to me. That is what we do. It does feel good to be back, to be in front of really passionate fans. Like you said, man, so much of the world has changed. I feel like my life has drastically changed since the pandemic. So it's nice to have to return to this feeling of familiarity and to get back to doing what we do. We did our best with the Thunderdome, to have fans there virtually, but there's never ever a replacement for live crowds, especially crowds like the UK crowds, enthusiastic crowds. It's I'm glad we're getting back to the essence of what we do, and we've had a blast. And for me, this is brand new territory as well, because I've never been able to do these shows as WWE Champion. So I'm almost having, I do my best to stay present as well, but I think of the times too, I've been reflecting, and to think that I alone am the one, closing the show and, grabbing the mic and talking to the crowd and glad handing and taking pictures at the very end is wild. When I first came up, it's Cena, it's all these guys, Randy and just these massive stars who could close the shows, and now I'm being thrust in that position, and I'm just very, very thankful for all the growth in my career and in my life. And it's just been a blessing. Age 35 has been the best year of my life. And sometimes it feels weird to say during a pandemic when so many people have been through awful times, but it's really been a really life-changing year. And I'm grateful for all the good things that have come with it.
I ask this question to everyone that comes on the podcast, but what advice do you give to anyone that's listening today that, like you, has wanted to get into the business and wants to get their kind of voice out there or get seen in an industry that's so hard to get into. There will be people listening today that want to be like you wanted to be like Goldberg at one point. So what would you give to those listeners, that advice to kind of get seen in a world that's so difficult to be seen?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to be yourself. And that can sound cliche, but to me, what has made this run so fulfilling is doing it my way. And I think a big part of getting to this point too has been the fact that, one of the things that we've done as the New Day is I think we were able to be successful is because we found the area where there was a void, where no one was really doing comedy like that in WWE. So I would encourage anyone to find what is missing in wrestling, to find what is missing in WWE that you can provide that is unique, that is different, and draw from your outside influences. I was able to draw. I grew up in the church, so there's a part of me that draws from that diction of a preacher, that delivery. I'm able to borrow from. I also, even the things that I love as far as like TV and music, I'm able to blend all of that in my presentation and in my promos. So I would encourage anyone to find what it is that you already love, to find what you're already good at, even things outside of wrestling that you think wouldn't fit in this bubble, and bring them with you. I would also encourage people, obviously, be in the best shape you can, but enjoy the process as well. I think sometimes in my life, I've been too goal-oriented, where it was only about making it. It was only about getting to the certain point of success. But enjoy learning a new skill. Enjoy no longer making a mistake that you often made. When you get that opportunity to finally start training, to get to a wrestling school, enjoy that process. Enjoy the growth. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy all of it. And like I said, give it your all. To me, the juice is worth the squeeze. There's a lot you have to sacrifice in this life. Being away from your family, your friends, you're on the road often, the bumps, the bruises. There's a lot that you have to give up, and it's not an easy job. But like I said, I think the juice is really worth the squeeze. I'm just so grateful I found my path. I found what I feel I'm supposed to be doing, and it's just provided me so much joy and so many incredible opportunities, and I met so many incredible people as well. But yeah, I would just, for anyone, and again, another thing too, don't let people tell you no. I've been met with so many no's, so many, doors slammed in our faces, especially when we were trying to get the New Day off the ground. But man, just attack, for anything you love, attack it with your all, have no regrets, and don't be afraid to be you, to be uniquely you.
Amazing. My final question, I ask this to everyone that comes on the podcast. The outro piece of music that finishes at the end of our interview today, it's all edited, it's all finished. You get to choose. But I don't let you get to come back to me. You got to tell me today on the spot. What is a song? It can be any band, any performer, any artist that means a lot to you, that you think sums you up, that is your song, that when I ask the question comes to your head and your heart and soul, that you want to be the outro music for today's interview.
Oh, wow.
Any song in the world,
man,
so that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna just say, so I've just been obsessed with Mariah the Scientist. But I was gonna say, when you talked about a song that encapsulates me, I was like, I don't know of any of her stuff that really necessarily is a song that feels like it encapsulates me. Man, let me go with. This is so much pressure because I love music and I want to pick the perfect and right song. But I will go with Wale. And what Wale song will I go with? The album About Nothing is probably my favorite album of his. You know what? So it's weird. I'll go with The Matrimony. And I'm only going with The Matrimony because there's a part where Jerry Seinfeld talks about growth and how you're never really ready for growth. And, I'm not married, so the song is obviously it's about marriage, it's about relationships, taking that next step. But I do very much love that quote about growth. I feel like I never wanted to be a leader. I was just always like, I like doing my stuff. I like sports and whatnot. And then I just kind of wanted to slink off into the background. But I think sometimes life just kind of thrusts you into these positions that you didn't know you were ready for. But when you take stock of who you are, you realize, yeah, I have all the tools to do this and to step up. So I love that line so much about growth, and I think it's really eye-opening. So let's go with Wale's the matrimony.
That reason alone is incredible. So that's the one. I can't wait to hear it already on the end of this episode. Thank you for your time today. I can't wait to see you tonight, and the rest of the tour goes well, and we can't wait to have you back next year.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
So there it is. There's my interview with me and the amazing Big E. What an incredible character. So larger than life, so honest, but also so humble. He knows where he's come from, and he knows just how much work's involved to become the guy he is today. And truly one of the nicest guests I've ever had on Mark and Me, and so accommodating with his time, and I'm so grateful he took it out during the UK tour to sit and conduct this interview with me. A massive thank you also to WWE. They were good enough to invite me to their Birmingham show. I got to witness some great matches, and a massive thanks to my good friend Tom for coming and being my assistant for the day. It's been an absolutely amazing experience, and I can't wait to welcome more WWE stars in the near future. If you've really enjoyed today's episode, all I ask you to do is to go on markandme.com. On there's links to all my social media channels. You can share the episode on your Facebook, your Instagram, or even retweet it or tweet it on your own page on Twitter. All the people that then get to see the episode may just check it out, and that brings a whole new audience to Mark and Me and costs you absolutely nothing. It's simply the touch of a button. If you've really enjoyed today's episode and you want to support me, I don't make any money from this podcast, but via my Patreon, all the money that goes in there helps support the podcast and allow me to go out there and conduct more and more interviews and host the podcast on all the various different platforms. So you can do that via my Patreon page. All the links are on markandme.com, and on there each and every month you're going to get a minimum of 8 episodes of Mark and Me. But not only that, thanks to the sponsors of the podcast, Last Exit to Nowhere t-shirts, they offer 2 t-shirts every single month which are given away as prizes to say thanks for supporting me. Not only that, the amazing guys at Vice Press give me artist-proof posters, signed variants, or limited edition artist-proof posters as a way of saying thank you for supporting me. They're literally posters that money can't buy, and a massive thanks to those guys for supporting me. Each and every penny that you invest into the podcast goes right back into it, so please, if you're listening today and want to buy me a coffee or the equivalent of a chocolate bar, jump onto Patreon and sign up. It's as little as £1 per month. That's absolutely nothing, and really does go a massive long way for this podcast. Again, a massive thank you to everyone who's took the time to listen to today. A massive thanks to WWE for sending me across to Birmingham and making this interview with Big E happen. And I'm going to be back in only a few days' time with a brand new episode. So until then, look after yourself, take care, and I'll speak to you all very soon.
If there's a question of my heart, you got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. Hey, if there's a question of my love, you got it. Baby, don't worry, I got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, love, baby, I've been making plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Baby, I've been making plans for
my sincerest apology. I mean it. Look, I'll admit it, albeit pathetic, that I'm in my late 20s, still never been to a wedding. Guess the idea of that lobby empty, do not sit with me, well, it's not your fault they try to get me, cause I'ma need your sales, cause I'm selfish, and I need you to myself, trying to see you afloat, but don't want to see you sail, cause I failed, I see you about to cry, cause when I enter they city, they leave without their pride, I'm sorry. Are you staring at my comments? Fearing it's gonna always be you sharing me with all them. Wrong. How dare I say ignore them? Preparing for that day I leave you here, it's what you for them. It's hard, you know, temptation and all. Out here trying to see if my relationship's strong. Get a place in the chart, so run away from your heart. Gave this music my all, nothing is sacred no more. I'm wrong. But I'm promising you better though. Your friends saying let them go. And we ain't getting any younger. I can give them now, but I can promise you forever. That's right.
You got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. Hey, if there's a question of my love, got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been making plans. Oh, love, baby, I've been making plans for you. Baby, I've been making plans.
We really should have a rule.
Baby,
Really
I've
should
been
have a
making
rule.
plans for
Really should have a rule.
Yeah.
You have a new love. I'll admit it. Let me be hypothetical. If the day I find a woman, I'd probably be scared to share it. The idea of me finding love will run somebody off. But true, my wall could use some plaques, but still I got a flaws. Brush you off. Yeah, I'm kinda lost. Now I'm up in the club with a couple of move-ons. From dark, good troubled heart. Went from falling in love to drunk and falling apart. This is hard. Trying to find some time to move on. So when we lost our baby, I got shady, she got too dark. Sorry. And I thank you, baby, you strong. My ex before you married to you solo, I say so long. Nah, good terms how that ended. But it surely put a dent on how I worry about this business. Off-white picket fences, on flights with the children, on site stealing kisses, on off nights my intentions. But I plan to do it better though. But you still saying let it go. We ain't getting any younger. Women love me now, but in your eyes, she forever though.
Baby, you got it. It don't belong to anyone but you. Hey, if there's a question of my love, you got it. Baby, don't worry, I got plans for you. Yeah, baby, I've been